Good morning, everybody. I guess afternoon, unless you're on the West Coast, and then it's still morning for you. But good morning. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? I'm Dyo the Yarn Dragon. Today we are doing something a little bit different. Today is session 0 and character creation for a new tabletop series that EvilSqueegee and I will be doing here on my channel every Friday. Yeah, I'm excited. So, without further ado, let's bring up the screen. Actually, let me bring on the voice, and then we'll bring up the screen. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello. It works.
It works.
It works. I'm looking at it in real time, and it works. I didn't
test it at all.
No, it's fine. Actually, I'm like looking at the stuff on my desk and it's like, I was supposed to block that hat yesterday. I have to do it this weekend because it has to be dry for me to pack it on Tuesday. But yeah. So yeah, how are you doing?
I'm waking up. I'm awake, and you can't prove otherwise.
Same. Very much the same.
So if you are watching on YouTube, because this will be going up on YouTube once we're done with it, hi, it's been a while. It's been a while.
It has.
Oh, is that a notepad I see? Are you going to be taking notes?
I am
I hope
going
you're
to be taking
notes. Because there's a lot of notes to take.
I am going to be taking notes.
Okay, who do we have in chat? We have Eldritch Wolf, we have Marcos, we have Starcore Zach. We've got Dio, you're in chat.
I am in chat.
Check that out.
I mean, sometimes I do things and stuff.
Starcore Zach says they can prove Dio is asleep.
Well, that's because Zach's a stalker. That's because Star's a stalker. I mean, well, hi, Star. Okay. I actually need to take my headphones off 1 second so I can go across the room and get my pencil because none of the pens on my desk are on my desk.
Don't tempt me, Marcos. I have the mod sword. I could ban you. It's a true fact.
But my little thingy is not too far. But if I go with my headphones on, then I'd like kill myself. We don't want that. Hi, weirdness.
It's weirdness. Yay!
Oh, Marcos, wait, Marcos is in chat? Ban that guy. I mean, look.
I was just saying I could do that.
Luca could 100% do that.
Okay.
Okay, so.
Ooh, my girlfriend has given me something to drink. Thank you, honey.
Thank you, honey. I mean, wait, what?
Dio says thank you, honey. Did you hear that?
No.
She said, "You're welcome, Dio. I love you."
Oh, I love her too.
She says she loves you too. Alright, so I figure today we'll start by going over what ArcWorld is and how ArcWorld is played. And then we can move into the game world.
Okay.
And then once we've covered the game world, you'll have an understanding that you can use to follow through the character creation mechanics.
That sounds excellent.
Alright, so I was totally prepared for this, and I absolutely have the correct documents open, and you can't prove otherwise.
Great, because one of us should be prepared for this show. Like, one of us. It's clearly not me, because I'm still arranging shit on my desk, like, trying to figure out how I want this to look. This is fine. It's all fine.
Okay, so I'm actually gonna read from the core ArcWorld rulebook.
Okay.
Right. It says ArcWorld is a setting agnostic, powered by the apocalypse, narratively oriented, fiction-first storytelling game. Now that's a lot to chew on.
There's a lot to chew
Alright.
on.
So let's go. Setting agnostic means that the game is developed without the setting in mind, so you can use this to tell a cyberpunk story, you could use this to tell a fantasy story, which is what we're going to be doing.
Hey.
You could be using the system to tell a story set in the modern day world, but with werewolves.
Or with mages.
If you wanted, or with mages. Yeah, exactly. That's what setting agnostic means. Powered by the Apocalypse means that it runs on the Apocalypse World engine, with other popular titles such as Dungeon World and Apocalypse World under its belt. It's probably my all-time favorite system.
Okay.
So I know you have some experience playing Dungeon World, which means that you're gonna have an easy time grokking the mechanics here.
Okay, I have to ask.
What?
The hell does grokking mean?
Well, what does grok mean? Grok means to understand, to get it.
Okay.
That's what I grok means.
I've heard that a couple of times. Like, I don't know what the fuck that means. Right, Marcos? Like, Marcos and I used to play Dungeon World together, and... Oh, such good times.
So when I say the system is narratively oriented, what I mean is that the system focuses more on the plot of the events than it does on success and failure. Like, Dungeons & Dragons is a very tactical combat game, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have Dungeon World is focused on like exploring dungeons and the story of consequences of what happens from your actions. This is kind of more leaning onto the Dungeon World side of things, where when you roll dice because of the story, and then the dice will actually impact the story. And then we take the story up and run from there until it's time to roll dice again because of the story, and it creates this loop of story, dice, story, dice, story, dice. The dice are as much of an impact on the story as your character is in ArcWorld.
Right.
And fiction first means exactly what I was just saying about, like, the dice are triggered by the story, and then they create the story. The dice are in service to the story. It's all about the story.
Okay.
If I was gonna say what's the thing that sets this apart from D&D the most, it's that if you fail your roll, you don't have to fail your action. And if you succeed your roll, you don't have to succeed your action. Instead, a failed roll means the story turns against your character, and a succeeded roll means the story favors your character. A lot of times that will mean a passed roll means a passed action, or a failed roll means a failed action. But it can mean you really wish you didn't succeed, or you're really happy that you failed in retrospect because something was revealed that would have made success bad.
Yep.
So we can get into the very specifics about like the stats and stuff when we're getting into character creation. We'll go over what each of the things mean.
Okay.
As we set those up. And it is now time for the game world. Where did I put it? Oh god.
I see there's a blurred picture of it in Discord.
Got to help me.
I mean...
Let's see, now you grok, says Weirdness. You grok. Okay, so
God damn it, Dice.
So the world has been through several ages. This is going to be a fantasy world, based on, I drew a lot from, you'll see a lot of Skyrim in this game world, you'll see some of The Witcher, you'll see some Game of Thrones, you'll see some Diablo mixed in. I don't know how many of those games you have experience playing or not, Dio.
I have zero experience playing any of them. I know The Witcher because I watched Void play through them. I know a little bit about Game of Thrones. I know a little bit about Diablo. I know, like, the teeny tiniest bit about Skyrim. Because every time I watch a game where someone's trying to, like, force their way up a mountain, they refer to it as Skyrimming, and I'm like, I don't know. Okay.
That works in my favor, because as I was building this world, I drew a lot on those sources and kind of meshed them together and did a little bit of reskinning here and there, and the more I borrowed from other settings, the less recognizable it became, and if you haven't played these games at all, this will all just be fresh to you.
Yes.
Okay, so the world has been through several ages. In the Age of the Void, there were only the three siblings. The three siblings were Godixes. These are the deities of the setting. There was Aktash, the Godix of the elements and nature, of weather, animal, elements, disease, life, and love. Then there was Molech Ga, the Godix of creation and refinement. Science, culture, history, academia, and alchemy. And then there was Ganax, Godix of death and the afterlife.
What was the last one?
Ganax, goddess of death and the afterlife, also magic, chaos, ancestors, and destruction. The three breathe life into the world, creating all that is, and they call it Balain. And with that comes the mortal plane, heaven, and hell.
Okay.
I'll let you catch up on your notes.
Wait, the world is called Balain?
The world is called Balain.
Okay.
B-A-L-A-E-N.
B-A-L... Say that again?
A-E-N.
A-E-N.
And Balain is divided into 3 planes. Mortal, heaven, and hell.
Okay.
Another note is when I was building this fantasy world, I really tried to stick to the generic stuff instead of being like getting too fancy. So a lot of these things are going to be things that you immediately grok, like angels come from heaven, demons come from hell.
Okay.
I tried not to be like too much stuff that would need super explaining.
Cool.
Because I've got a whole world to build here, and you've got a whole world to grok, so I figured making it easy would be the best. Would be for the best.
Yes, I appreciate that.
Heaven and hell are locked in an eternal conflict, with the mortal plane caught in the middle. They're just at war. Why are they at war? Because they are, by their very nature, opposed to each other. You have heaven is good, hell is evil. They do not like each other. Evil is always scheming to bring down good. Good is always looking to vanquish evil. Blah, blah, blah. Good versus evil. Very Diablo. Much, much, much war. Hooray.
Makes sense.
Okay, so that's all in the Age of the Void. So when an NPC talks about the Age of the Void, they're talking about the age that was before or during the creation of the universe.
Okay.
That seems like a good place to start.
Yes.
It's actually weird that I'm watching you take notes on the stream. I've never seen a player take such thorough notes before.
I have a really terrible memory. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I told you before stream, I'm really trying not to look at the, like, for DM's eyes only that pop up in my Google Docs. I'm like, no, don't look.
Okay, so then we move to the Golden Age, where elves and humans are getting along fantastically. Humans develop magic, but elves develop advanced technology. The elves are mostly an underground race. They're kind of like if you take elves and dwarves and smash them together, this is what you get.
Okay.
Yeah, Mark goes, remember that, he says, ooh, for once elves in tech and humans magic. Ganax is both the goddess of death and magic and chaos. So, is that my phone buzzing?
I don't know. I can't hear it.
One quick second.
Okay.
Okay. Had to make sure that phone call got picked up. I didn't say this in the notes, but eventually I'm gonna have, like, Aktash developed angels and demons, Molik Ga developed elves, and Ganax developed humans. But I you know what? I'm gonna write that down right now. Developed angels, demons, Molik Ga developed elves, Ganax developed humans. Okay. In the Golden Age, elves and humans get along. Elves do tech, humans do magic. But the Golden Age is marked by the end of it, where elves literally just vanished into thin air and nobody knows what happened to them. The entire race just poof, gone. It's one of the greatest mysteries of Belain.
Okay.
That leaves only humans. So, this is a fantasy setting where there aren't things like gnomes or orcs or tieflings.
Okay.
Okay. So then, during the Golden Age, the kingdoms of Belain side mostly with heaven in the Great War, so they align themselves with angels and good, for the most part.
Okay.
You do see some demon cultists here and there, but they're considered outlawed and bad. Now we get into the crunch of the setting, which is the Age of Humanity, which is the age that we're currently in right now. The game takes place in the Kingdom of Kuleria.
Kingdom of Kuleria?
Yeah. So, in the Age of Humanity, the Kingdom of Kuleria is ruled over by a king who has 2 twin sons. That'll be important, that they are twins. And in Kuleria, you are either highborn or you are lowborn. In lowborn, you might see them called the common folk or commoners, and the highborn might be called nobles, but it's highborn and lowborn. It's a very strict tiered caste system.
Okay.
Like, it is very unlikely that you will ever ascend from being a commoner into being a highborn.
Okay.
That just doesn't happen. Why? Because you weren't highborn.
Right. Dice, the crunch, the age of the hard taco.
The age of the hard taco.
Now I want tacos.
Okay, the highborn are those born into one of the 3 houses. You have House Aktasha. You will note that these 3 houses are named after the gods, the goddesses. Sorry. I remember a god is a dude, a goddess is a chick, and a goddess is beyond your puny conception of mortal gender.
Got it.
You have House Aktasha, which is known for its affinity with all things natural. House Aktasha is where you get things like druids and rangers and other wildlife concerned. You also see a lot of House Aktasha might be where you get a lot like angel serving paladins and things. Tice, you're fired. Quote, a caste system in a society of magic users. Get it? Get it? Casting spells. You guys, where's everybody going?
Oh, Tice. What? Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. They're a deity.
A deity. I like deity. That's cool.
I like that.
Then you have House Molek Ghana, known for its alchemists and its historians.
How do you spell that?
Molek Ghana. It's MOLEK apostrophe. GANA. Molek Ghana.
Okay. And tell me what they are again?
They are known for their alchemists and their historians.
They're the smarty pants.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
What?
The fluffy terror is coming.
Oh, the kitties are coming.
Yes. He is upset because I have removed his blanket from my desk. Because I cannot let him just take over the whole desk today.
Oh, yeah. And then finally there is House Ganaxia. GANAXIA.
GANAXIA?
Yep. which is known for its magicians.
Do they wear a lot of
Bardco says,
sequins?
alchemists and historians, how to blow things up and the history of things that have been blown up.
Yep. I do not want you to apologize for your awful puns, Tice. They are more than welcome here. Like, more than welcome.
I actually have NPCs whose stated objective is to crack as many bad puns as possible, so you'll fit right in here, Tice. Politically speaking, these houses are, they're not territories, they're political associations, and if you're from the same family, you tend to look after each other, so, like, each house will have its own political agendas that it wants to push.
Okay.
So in the courts, the nobles that are in the courts that are, making laws and passing bills and stuff like that, they have multiple layers, because you have which duchy you're a part of, then you have which house you're a part of, then you have which, political factions you're a part of, and it's all very multi-layered. Kind of like, I feel like in retrospect, this is a little changeling. You got your nobles and your commoners and your different houses, and yeah. Okay. Then you have the Vigil. The Vigil is a faction of loose. It's like a loose brotherhood of paladins and knights that are in service to heaven, and they hunt down demons and demon worshippers as their primary objective. They're not really a political faction, they're much more focused with smiting the evil. And they don't really have a hierarchy so much as they have, like, just associations with each other. And you find them throughout the whole kingdom. Tice the Betrayer asks, do the lower castes get access to magic? Yes. The lower castes do get access to magic, but nobody will ever assume that a commoner mage is as talented as a House Ganaxia mage. Whether or not that's actually true is irrelevant. You could be a commoner who is just as good with magic, or even better with magic than everybody else, but a House Ganaxia mage has that clout and that the expectation of quality.
Marco says Dark Knights, question mark?
Dark Knights, some of them, maybe, Dark Knights, they don't really police each other, except for they're staunchly anti-demon. Yeah, House Mages are more prestigious. Thank you, Weirdness. That's exactly what I was trying to say. So then you have the Vigil, then you have the Kingdom of Ballet. I'm sorry, that's the Kingdom of Kularia. Let me change that on my notes. Kularia is divided into 7 duchies. And we will get to those in just a second. Where is my notes? Okay. You have, as a matter of fact, roll 20. I have a map.
Ooh.
Now, technically, I don't know if I should be showing the map because I literally ripped the map out of Skyrim.
We're not selling this. We're not claiming it as our own. I'm not showing it on screen.
Yeah, not showing it on screen is the important part here. But here's the link to the Roll20 campaign. And that'll be important because that's where the map is. That's also where the calendar is, which we'll get to in a little bit. Yes, I made a calendar and everything.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Okay, so you're loaded in here in the map. You have the 7 duchies. You have the capital of the kingdom is Beaumont. The capital city of Beaumont is Emberfall. We will get into what each city is known for later, probably during play.
Okay.
But do note, I have notes on all of these, and some of these have been so fully fleshed out, I know the names and life stories of the NPCs that run the bathhouses.
That's amazing. Ty says, "Do not overdo yourself again, Squeegee. Pace yourself."
Right, I've been pacing myself. I've been building this world for about a week now, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the Duchy of Riverdeep, the capital of which is Oxaker.
How do you spell that city?
Oxaker, Oxacre.
Oxacre?
Yep.
Okay.
Then you have the Duchy of Elvenwood, the capital of which is Angelview.
Okay.
I will give small details to each of these. You don't have to write these down. These will be explained to you later when they're relevant again.
Sure.
But because we've got people in chat that are interested in the world building, I figured I'd share a little bit.
Absolutely.
Amberfall is named after a great waterfall. It's kind of set up on this giant cliff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where there's a giant waterfall that pours out from under the cliff, and nobody knows where this waterfall comes from because it comes from another goddamn dimension.
Ooh.
And the water is amber in color, and it pours into the frozen sea, and nobody knows why, and that's why the city is called Amberfall. Oxaker is the city that houses the Arcane Circle. The Arcane Circle is the big faction of mages. We'll get into them in just a little bit here.
Damn it, Tice.
What did Tice say?
Don't go chase a waterfall.
The Arcane Circle, it's also home to Arcgate, which is the big prison, like the interdimensional prison where they house all the demons and shit that they can't kill.
Hmm.
And finally, it is also home to the sport of Blood Ball.
Okay.
Which is a magical, violent version that's a cross between soccer and basketball.
Okay.
The object of Blood Ball is to get the ball into the other guy's net, right?
Right.
But you can use your hands, so you get like a little bit of American football in there. You got a little bit of basketball in there, right? But you walk in armed with weapons.
Huh. Hi, Paladin.
That's Blood Ball. Hey, Paladin, what's going on?
That is nuts.
Okay, so then you have Elvenwood, the capital of which is Angelview. Angelview is home to the arena, which is a much easier to grok form of entertainment. It's a coliseum.
Okay.
Angelview is also a very religious city. It's got one of, not the most, but one of the biggest cathedrals in the setting.
Okay.
Then you have the Duchy of Middlesex, the capital of which is Whitebridge. Whitebridge is the trade capital of the kingdom.
Okay.
And that's all of the western, never eat soggy weasels. Yes, western. Western duchies. Then you have the Duchy of Windsong, the capital of which is Snowport. Windsong is named after the sirens that live there. Where, like, as an adventurer or a traveling merchant or something, you might be going through Windsong and just be lured in by the magic of the siren song.
Okay.
It's a mountainous region. So it's, instead of the siren being a kind of mermaid, the siren is just a kind of creature that exists in the mountains here. And Snowport is home to a circle of druids that are all were-polar bears.
Okay.
Because were-polar bears are metal as fuck.
Yeah.
And then you have the Springs, which is to contrast Snowport. The springs are home to like hot springs everywhere, and the capital of the springs is Archer's Peak. I don't know anything about Archer's Peak yet because I haven't developed it.
Okay.
And then finally, Autumn Vale. Way down in the south, you have the Autumn Vale, the capital of which is Sin. Just S-I-N, the word Sin. And the city of Sin is the city that is ruled by the Thieves Guild. In, not in name, but like in practice.
Okay.
Okay, so that is the 7 duchies of the world, and again, those will come up during play, like, you know, when your character has to go to a place or whatever, and I will share more details that your character would know there, but because I could get into all the details of every city, but that would be excessively boring and not really relevant to character creation right now.
Fair enough.
Okay, so we have the Highborn, the Vigil, the Kingdoms, Class, 7 duchies. Dukes, duchesses, and duchesses are all appointed by the king from the Highborn houses.
It's really Orchid said, I'm imagining the polar bears from his Dark Materials.
I'm not familiar with his Dark Materials.
The Golden Compass.
Yeah, I haven't read or watched the Golden Compass yet.
I feel like if you saw the picture...
Yeah, I probably would.
Now I have to look this up. Because I'm a child, and...
Oh, they're bears that wear armor?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Were creatures is a theme that I kind of sprinkled throughout the setting. The were polar bears are not the only were creatures. The only were creatures I didn't really set up yet are werewolves. Because I didn't have a place to put them. But there's a were shark that I thought was really cool. The were shark pirates are out there.
Yes. I have to chase a cat away from my room. 1 second.
It's okay. We'll take a quick Q&A here while Dyo runs off to chase cats. So, were there any questions? Because you guys asking questions in chat helps me world build. Because you guys will ask questions about stuff I hadn't even thought of yet. What about the what bears, the why bears, and the when bears? When bears sounds dope. Magically time-traveling werebears. I would totally do an entire adventure around that. How do the kingdoms feel about Mondays? I believe Mondays were called... Let me check the calendar real quick. Avidias. I actually have here, let me... okay, upload copy URL. Bling! Put this in the chat. I actually have a whole calendar built up. So technically Mondays don't exist. The week goes Avidia, Cassina, Lycus, Novia, Sangha, Varia, and Zeno. It's the one part of the setting that I wasn't very happy with. Because I like to keep things easy for the player to understand and remember. Like, when I get into the calendar, I'll explain how the months work. But the days of the week are alphabetically ordered, so the later in the alphabet the day of the week is in, the later in the week it is.
I'm back.
Any heroes of legend we know about, and any low cast, I haven't developed them yet. But it is a world rife with adventurers, and I plan on having the names of some famous adventurers and stuff. I also haven't developed much history for the world yet. I've just developed what is here, rather than what was here. The most history, we've already gone through all the history I wrote down, which was the Age of Void and the Age of, and the Golden Age. Um, okay, so you're back. Welcome back. How many moons? 2. Nope, 1. I'm sorry, 1 moon. Yes, 1 moon. The phases of which are on the calendar.
Is River Deep near Water Deep?
River Deep is if you've played Skyrim, River Deep is the Reach. Okay, so we had left off with pointing out that the dukes, duchesses, and duchesses are all appointed by the king from the highborn houses.
Yes.
Being in cool with the king is a big deal because just because you're a duchess doesn't mean your kid will ascend to take your throne. And if you piss off the king, you could lose your entire position. And so there's a lot of politics that go on at an inter-kingdom level, where everybody's trying to cozy up to the king, and because the king picks people that the king likes to be dukes. And then there's the royal agency. The royal agency is 1 part IRS, 1 part FBI. The royal agency also runs the bank. You know how, like in an MMO, you have the bank that you go to in each city?
Yes.
Well, we have that here. And it's the same bank wherever you go because the royal agency uses portals to access your bank. So you don't have to, like, if you leave, let's say you find a magical sword on your adventures and you don't want to carry it with you because you don't want to risk losing it to, like, bandits or something.
Put it in your bank.
You put it in your bank, and then when you go to the next city, you just pull it out of the bank again. It's not stuck in the city you left it in.
Right.
As long as you are, of course, a legal, law-abiding citizen, and the royal agency doesn't stop you from accessing your bank.
Oh, well, see, that's the trick now, isn't it?
You want to stay on the good side of the IRS. You just want to.
I mean, I guess.
The royal agency is in charge of the bank portals. The royal agency employs mages to do most of that work. Then you have the church, which is led by the high priest and serves as the leader of the circle of archbishops. The high priest and the archbishops are centered in... Where did I put them? I think I might have put them in Archer's Peak or Sin. I forget. I might be confused because I haven't decided yet. That sounds like something I would do. But so you have the archbishops are like the FBI of the church. If something comes up church-wise that is inter-duchy, the archbishops are the ones that are going to handle it. So, like, seeing an archbishop is a big deal. That's like the high council of the church. Each duchy is assigned a bishop. It's considered a position in the duchy's court. So you have the bishop is basically like the church version of the court wizard. They're there to advise on religious matters, to advise on questions of faith, on cosmological matters and things like that.
Okay.
And also the bishop's job is to manage the churches themselves in the duchy. Each church is looked after by a priest and some deacons, and the priests all answer to the bishop, and the bishop answers to the archbishops, and the archbishops answer to the high priest. It's a very hierarchical system. And that is because the church itself is its own political force within the kingdom. Like the king doesn't rule over the church, the high priest does. It just so happens that the high priest and the king are friends, and they get along, but that's just they happen to get along. That's not because the king has any actual authority over the church. So, like, you can go into a church and call sanctuary, and the church will protect you, even if you're a wanted criminal.
Oh.
Because the church doesn't answer to the law.
Interesting.
So that's all about the church. Let's see, who controls the bank portals? Don't get caught. I wonder if people can steal from the pocket dimensions. Loot and portal, best bank. So the church tends to focus a lot on helping commoners and the needy. It's a very charitous organization. They run a lot of charities like soup kitchens and funds for the needy, etc., etc.
Okay.
Now we get to the Arcane Circle. The Arcane Circle is the Mages Guild. The Arcane Circle is a highly prestigious organization, dominated primarily by House Ganaxia, but not exclusively by House Ganaxia. And they assign court wizards to every duchy. The court wizard's job is to advise the duchess on all things that are like magical or mystical. It's a very prestigious position. But they also serve a secondary purpose, and that is, with such a prestigious position in the courtroom, they are there to help further along the Arcane Circle's political agendas. The Arcane Circle is a very powerful political force in the kingdom. Unlike the church, they do answer to the law, but also unlike the church, they help write the laws. Also, they control access to the only truly prestigious magical education center in the kingdom.
Oh.
So only the truly so like, you could play a mage, you could play a commoner mage, you could play a House Ganaxia mage, but if you want to play like the mage who's super magical, you want to play a mage who's trained by the Arcane Circle. Because only the talented and the gifted get in and get access to all those magical tomes and professors and resources that the Arcane Circle has.
Okay.
And then there's the Thieves Guild. The Thieves Guild is the mob.
Okay. Makes sense.
The Thieves Guild is the organized crime. There's one other organized crime family that we'll talk about in a minute. But the Thieves Guild has a strict no murder policy. They do not kill. If you kill somebody on a Thieves Guild job, you get they handle you internally. And it's not pretty. The Thieves Guild has safe houses scattered across the kingdom, where each safe house is maintained by a broker. The broker's job is to act as a Thief Guild member's access to the world, and also the world's access to the Thieves Guild. The broker doesn't do anything illegal. That's very important, because otherwise the broker would just be arrested for being a broker. But what the broker does do is deal primarily in information. They feed the guild information about jobs that the guild might take. They vet jobs. And if you are looking to hire the Thieves Guild to do something, a broker's who you go to. The broker can also put you in contact with fences and all kinds of stuff. So if you're playing a thief, the broker is like your core go-to guy in the city. And there are safe houses in each city, secret places that the Thieves Guild uses when they need to lay low.
Cerulean Orchid, oh no.
Cerulean Orchid says, I'm having one of those days where things like handle you internally are heard literally. Colonoscopies for rule breakers. That would definitely make me reconsider my choices as weirdness.
Oh my god, yeah, no, for real. Oh my,
Okay.
no, it's really not good, no.
Okay, then there are the Bloodbound. The
Okay.
Bloodbound are a highly secret, mystical order of assassins. Hiring the Bloodbound, like is looking for the best of the best. You can hire a thug, you can hire a hitman, right? You just can't get them from the Thieves Guild. But if you really want somebody dead, you hire the Bloodbound. Because the Bloodbound use their blood to bind themselves to the plane of shadow to make themselves into superhuman killing machines.
Whoa.
They are ninja motherfuckers.
Wow.
To conjure the services of the Bloodbound, you have to perform a special magical rite. You can't just find the Bloodbound. You perform a rite, and somehow they know that you've performed the ritual, and they find you.
Okay. Oh, I am sorry, Eldritch Wolf. I forgot I have those running.
This will all go up on YouTube, so you can catch the parts that you've missed then. And I'm also answering questions people have in chat as well. Oh, Eldritch Wolf subscribed!
I mean, that's an option too. Sorry.
That's also a choice you can make.
I love you, Eldritch Wolf. Thank you so much for the sub. This is the fifth time you have broken the law. Why are you smiling?
Okay, that covers all of the world so far.
Okay.
Right. Now comes recent events.
Okay.
Okay. Recently, the king was killed by an assassin.
Marcos, thank you so much for the
Good
Prime
idea.
sub.
Recently, the king was killed by an assassin. Basically, public opinion is that House Ganaxia hired the assassin. But the Bloodbound have recently killed the king. That happened within the past couple of weeks. This has started a war of succession between the two twin brothers, because there wasn't an older brother to be taking the throne. Did the king belong to a house? I haven't decided, but if he did, he would have belonged to House Mullighgana, sorry.
Okay.
So the king was killed, right?
Yes.
This starts a civil war, basically.
Right.
Because you have Prince Jurek and Prince Bo. Prince Jurek leads the Iron Crown. He leads the army of the Iron Crown, sometimes called the Iron Army. Prince Jurek has announced his intention to abolish the Highborn-Lowborn system, especially the worship of Ganax, if he becomes king.
Okay, hang on a second.
Tice is subbed. Is that a hype train?
That is a hype train. Wait, it says, yeah. That is a hype train, you guys. Oh my gosh. Okay, so he has announced his intent to, you said, to abolish?
Yeah, to
Highborn,
abolish
Lowborn?
the Highborn-Lowborn system. So the houses will all be gone, and and especially he's going to outlaw the worship of Ganax. because he blames House Ganaxia for the killing of his father.
Right.
So basically they're saying this is the god of death, why would you worship the god of death?
Right.
Then you have Prince Bo. Just Prince Bo, B-O.
Okay.
Oh
my goodness, you guys, thank you for the biddies. And down with religious, up with mystical assassin cults.
Bo. So Bo leads the traditionalist army. Basically, if Bo wins, Bo has announced his intent to keep things the way they are, including your religious freedom to worship Ganax. But that also means that if Bo wins, the highborn, lowborn system stays in place.
Right.
Now, civil war is brewing, but the fighting itself has only been minor skirmishes to date. It hasn't blown into full-blown warfare just yet. It's that recent.
Okay.
The fighting that has happened and the chaos caused by the death of the king has left a lot of people in dire straits. And like the people who have been shunted into the lowest of the low areas of like common folk have turned to a rise in banditry. So the roads are now super dangerous with people who have been forced to turn to banditry to survive.
Okay.
That means that there has also been a rise in work for adventurers like you, because merchants can't just freely travel the roads anymore because bandits hit them and take all their stuff.
Right.
So they hire protection, and they hire people to run errands for them, and they hire all kinds of stuff. So this is a great time to be an adventurer, which is good because you will be playing an adventurer.
Woo!
Okay, so that right there concludes all of the world building that I've done.
Wow.
How many pages of notes was that for you?
Considering I write fairly large, and I'm only writing on one on the front page. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm on page 6.
Oh, not bad.
I'm trying not to like write everything, but like kind of just get the highlights.
Yep.
Because I figure I will learn more about the world as we continue.
Tice the Betrayer asks, what about the uncivil war? The Civil War is not very civil.
Well, do
Tice
you
is
be a
wondering what...
lowborn or highborn?
We'll get into that. That's part of character creation.
I feel like that's a dice roll.
And not banditry. That's what rebel medics do. I appreciate you, Weird. I also appreciate you, Weird. Okay. So, in ArcWorld, every campaign has themes. Right?
Mm-hmm.
This campaign has 3 themes.
Okay.
The theme of the campaign is basically the stuff that we're going to do and the stuff that you can expect to see happen. Right?
Okay.
So I have the 2 that are at the core, and then 1 that I'm putting there because I think you will love it.
Okay.
But because this is session 0, if you don't want one of these campaign themes, you are free to let me know, and I will make changes.
Okay.
Okay. The first theme is discovery.
Okay.
Discovery is exploring unmapped ruins, finding ancient treasure, discovering secrets, and unraveling mysteries.
I'm down for this. Thanks, Pixel.
Okay, then there is action, which will be about fighting monsters, defying danger, taking big risks, and making big stunts. Is the theme Catgirls? No, but there is a Catgirl NPC.
Yay! Don't talk a share. Whatever you do.
She was on the wrong end of a mystical accident.
Definitely don't talk share.
Okay, and then the last one is politics.
Okay.
Politics is about making friends and enemies, power plays, choices and factions, and romance.
You know, I was like, politics? And then you got me at the end there.
Oh yes, romance is a big political thing. You've got romances between people from different houses, romances between lowborn and highborn, romances that involve people with stations of power. You've got all kinds of way romance plays into politicals. Because remember, the political game is all about who likes who.
Mm-hmm.
And what more like do you get than romance?
And if anybody has roleplayed with me for like more than a minute, they know that I love a good romance and roleplay.
I figured you would like that one.
Yes.
Okay, so now we get into the actual character creation. Now that we've established what the campaign themes are.
Ty says, who is Polly? All of them. The answer is yes.
The answer is yes. All of them. My game world is excessively queer, excessively poly. It's just the nature of it being an EvilSqueegee game world.
Yep.
It is bi as fuck out here.
I have learned a lot about relationships and things from playing with you and then taking that into other gaming environments. And it's been entertaining as hell.
Okay, so ArcWorld character creation is part of the looser part of the system that I haven't really developed too heavily. I've got it working for this campaign, but I haven't gotten it working for all campaigns yet.
Wait, what, Tice?
Polly as a person, not the relationships.
I mean, I don't know.
Oh, her ticks and her Polly. I get it. So character creation in ArcWorld comes in the form of leading questions,
Yes.
right? A leading question is a question that establishes a fact about the character and then prompts the player to tell me more. So in this way, you aren't 100% in control of the character, but 100% of characters will suit the game. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like, if we were going to play a game set in a high school, I might ask you what year of high school your character was from, but that comes with the loaded question of, you're going to this high school. And it forces you to play a high school student, right? But it does let you pick which year. That's kind of how this system is going to work. So the first loaded question, okay, is you were born under a zodiac sign. You get to pick one, okay?
Okay.
It is the sign of lovers, crafters, warriors, the perceptive, healers, deceivers, lore masters, or innovators. You get to explain how it suits you perfectly, or how it's the absolute wrong zodiac sign for you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And here, I'll paste this into Discord so you can see the list.
I'm already thinking that she is born under the zodiac of deceivers, and it's the worst possible pick ever because she is a terrible liar.
Okay, awesome. We've started to learn a little bit about your characters already. The system is working. Hooray! Okay. And then you get to pick two from this list. Your background was very rich, poor, rural, urban, famous, infamous, well-educated, well-traveled, promising, or disappointing? Here is the list. Tice the Betrayer says, when I heard Zodiac, I for some reason was like, born under the star Exodia.
Do you have a Google Docs of all of this, and are you going to make it viewable after stream?
I do have a Google Doc with all of this stuff. I don't know if I'm going to make it available yet.
I'm going to go, because I'm going to be that girl, I'm going to go rich and well-educated.
Okay. So the next step is to explain your choice. What about your background was rich and well-educated? Were you perhaps a House Ganaxia mage? Because if you're rich, you're probably a member of a house.
Yeah.
Right? Or you could be an alchemist from House Mullighana. Or even from House Aktasha.
Hang on, I need to go back and look at the houses.
Man, look at those notes already paying off.
Yes. This is where I need paper clips and stuff, so I can be like... Yeah, I think that she's probably... I kind of don't want to go... See, here's the problem. I'm trying to not go like the way that I always go.
What's the way that you always go?
I always go some kind of magic caster.
Well, so keeping in mind, you're the only player in this campaign, right?
Yeah.
So I expect you to have a little bit of magic at the very least. So if you want to play somebody who's not primarily a magic caster, but has a little bit of magic under their belt, you could play like a knight from House Ganaxia.
I'm leaning towards House Aktasha.
Okay.
I kind of want to go like Ranger.
Okay. One thing that didn't make it into the Game World information is I run fantasy that includes guns. If you've played World of Warcraft, you already know how this goes. They haven't erased archery. Archery is a real thing. But so are guns. Like Pirates of the Caribbean level stuff.
Hmm. No, I really like bows. I like archery.
Okay, so you want to be from House Aktasha.
Yeah.
Okay. And you went rich and well educated, right?
Yes.
Okay. The next one is choose one. You are an adventurer because you always dreamed of a life of action and glory, or you were forced into mercenary work through the cruelty of capitalism, or you were no good at anything but getting into trouble and getting out of it.
Because I was no good at anything but getting into trouble and then getting out of it. Okay,
so like, I feel like there's a little bit of Disney going on here, right? Like you've got the noble house, you've got the you're well educated, you know a little bit of magic, you're good at archery, and you're constantly getting into trouble.
Yes.
Constantly going places you're not supposed to go, constantly doing things you're not supposed to do, saying things you're not supposed to say, but you also have a knack for getting out of trouble as well. It always seems to work out in the end.
Yes.
Okay. Then we get to the meat and potatoes of your background.
Okay.
Here's the list. Choose more than one. Your backstory will be important because you care deeply about a named character, either living or dead. You have an unpaid debt, either possible or impossible to repay. You have a phobia or trauma you have experienced. You have a named, living, or at least animated enemy. There is an unsolved mystery about your life. You have an ongoing or failed your ongoing obligation, oath, or loyalty. You did something you cannot undo because of your deepest fear or greatest obsession. You are falsely or truthfully accused of a very serious crime. You are discriminated against for some reason. You own a favored heirloom. Heirloom? Heirloom? Heirloom. Heirloom. Don't look at me like that.
A heirloom, like what I can do, like cool weaving.
Cool weaving stuff with my hair. Yeah. Or you know a dangerous secret. Now you're not limited to just two, but you have to pick more than one.
Okay. So I am going. Let's see. I'm going to say I have a trauma I have experienced.
Okay.
I have an unsolved mystery about my life.
Okay.
And I have been falsely or truthfully accused of a serious crime.
Ooh, okay. So, the next part is explaining these things.
Okay.
So your first choice there was... which was the first one?
I have experienced a trauma.
Okay. What was it that happened to you?
Okay. I woke up one morning and everybody in my family was dead.
Oh, shit. Okay. What was the next thing? That you picked?
Unsolved mystery about my life.
Okay. What is the unsolved mystery about your life?
I'm gonna go super cheap. There's a reason that I was the only survivor, and we don't know why.
Okay. So we don't know why, but there was a reason. Do we know how they died? Like, were they killed by assassins, or did a demon attack?
By not being alive anymore. God damn it, weirdness. I love you. I'm going to say it looks like assassins.
Okay.
It looks like, I mean, it looks like they were probably all murdered in their sleep, or like it was definitely done by weaponry of some sort.
Okay. So there's a chance that somebody hired the Bloodbound to take out your family,
Possibly.
and the Bloodbound left you alone.
But the
Okay.
serious crime that I am being accused of
Is the death of your family?
is the death of my family.
Okay. All right.
Might as well go dark and go big, right?
I like it. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay. So, Now we get into the nitty gritty of character creation. We've got your concept settled out. So you were a member of House Aktasha. Your family. Do you have any preference from what duchy you came from?
Let me go back and look at the map. Look at my notes real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I think that either Beaumont or Elvenwood. But I will let you make the final call on that if you would like.
Beaumont works for me.
Okay.
Because I haven't prepped Beaumont yet.
Okay.
And I can make... and that allows me to world build Beaumont around the idea that an entire family of House Aktasha was murdered.
Okay.
Okay. That also explains why you haven't gone to Beaumont yet. Because we're gonna start with you being in Middlesex, heading into Whitebridge, is the start of the campaign.
Okay.
Okay. So the next step in understanding character creation. How many PCs are there going to be? Marcos asks. There is one PC. This is going to be a one-on-one game. I will be GMing and Dio will be playing.
Yes. And we will be doing this every Friday.
Yes, except next Friday.
Except for next Friday, because I'll be in California.
Yep. So, whenever your character does something in ArcWorld, and success or failure is important, or consequences could be interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
We throw dice.
Yes.
We do what's called, we do a roll called do the fill in the blank thing, right?
Do the thing.
Do the thing functions off of what are known as rolls.
Yes.
In other systems, the rolls might be called stats. But the idea is, I have set up 4 rolls. Okay, so you could do the mage thing, you could do the thief thing, you could do the fighter thing, or you could do the bard thing.
So...
You're gonna have each. So you've made characters for ArcWorld before from our play-by-post game,
right?
But you get to have either -2 to +2. Like somewhere on that scale in each one of those stats, your choice, but all of your stats added together have to equal 2.
Right.
The idea is that every time you do a thing where the consequences are interesting, first you ask yourself which role of character is best suited to this thing. So like, if you were trying to convince the guard to let you into the city even though you're kind of wanted for murder, right, you might do the bard thing, because that sounds like a thing a bard would be really good at.
Right.
But if you want to take your sword and drive it deep into the demon's gullet and rip it up and kill the thing,
that's like
that
a
might be a
fighter.
fighter thing. Yeah, that's a fighter thing. So you can choose what levels of each thing you are good at. And because you are the only PC in the party, it's important that you be at least good at a little bit of stuff.
Yes. Oh. Okay.
This is the only these are the only stats your character has that come in the form of numbers, so you don't have to worry about the math for too much longer.
Right.
I promise.
So, I'm going to give myself 1 point each in Mage Thief Fighter and a -1 in Bard.
Okay. Note, one of the core themes of the campaign is politics and romance.
I might have to rethink this.
-1 isn't too bad. It just means that you're a little socially awkward, maybe. Or not that you're socially awkward, but that... Remember that when you fail a roll, that doesn't mean you failed the action.
Right.
So you can be a smooth-talking highborn. It's just that the story will turn against you. An example that I use in the rulebook here, right, is imagine a strongman from a circus.
Mm-hmm.
His job is muscle. That's what he does. And one of the roles in his campaign is brute, where you would roll brute whenever you were doing muscle, but he takes -2 in brute. That doesn't mean he's bad at muscle. It means that maybe when he uses his muscle, people get scared, and the story turns against him that way.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe when he uses his muscle, he doesn't know his own strength, and he can screw things up like that. So having a low stat here doesn't have to mean that you're bad at being Bard. It just means the story is going to turn against you whenever Bard comes up.
Yes, Marcos, it's a total of 2. So you could take 1 point in up to 3 things and a -1 in something, or you could you can spread it out however you want as long as the total starting out adds up to 2.
Yep, so you could have like -2, 2, 2, and a 0. Because -2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 0 is 2.
Yes.
So I wouldn't feel like when I bring up that one of the campaign themes is politics and romance, I wouldn't feel like you're shooting yourself in the foot by taking a low Bard score. They're all important. It's just a question of which part of the story do you want her to have the hardest time with. And knowing you, picking a low Bard score means that romance is going to be complicated, which is something I think you like to play.
No, totally. It's like my favorite thing.
So I think that suits you very well.
You could 100% do that, Tice. Absolutely. I could be like a kick-ass mage and a super awesome thief and a real shitty bard and a real shitty fighter. That's like me in real life. Wait, what? I mean, look. Shh, it's fine. Convincing anyone you don't kill your family is going to suck. I mean...
Yep.
So here's the funny thing, Marcos. In our play-by-post games, I'm like real good. Like I roll really well at like the talking and sometimes the maging. But more often than not, I fail at the maging than I do at the talking. And yeah, when you fail at the maging, weird shit happens. And it's amazing.
Yep. Okay. So we've got your mage thief fighter bard spread, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now we get into the crunch of the system. Crunchy. We're gonna start with tags. Tags are the meat and potatoes of your character concept.
Okay.
Right? So the roles tell me what kind of story you're looking to tell.
Okay.
Right? So I know you want a story with complicated social stuff, but like heroic action and like cool magic.
Yes.
Because that's what you've put together. I also think that when I get into the magic system that I'm going to be using for this campaign, you'll be very happy. I think you will like it, because I am cheaping out and using a different magic system because ArcWorld doesn't have a magic system yet.
Right.
But I will show off how adaptable the magic system is. So you've got positive numbers in your fighter, thief, and mage.
Yes.
Which means that you want the character to succeed at doing these things, but also you want the story to turn in your character's favor when those things come up.
Yes.
And you want, instead, the story to turn against you whenever bard stuff comes up. So, like, guards will catch you, like, you know, you won't be able to talk your way out of things, sure, but more importantly, even if you do talk your way out of being the killer, something worse will come up and you'll wish you hadn't succeeded at that.
Woohoo!
Okay? But tags aren't about what you're doing. tags aren't about what the story is going to tags aren't what kind of story you're trying to tell. Tags are what the story will be about.
Okay.
Okay? So the very first tag we're going to talk about is your name.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but you have to come up with a name.
That's fine. I already actually pulled up Fantasy Name Generator already.
Oh yeah.
Cause I know.
In detailing this world, because I've been prepping for the campaign itself. In the campaign prep, I have used the NPC name generator from fantasynamegenerators.com so much I can hear it crying for mercy. Hashtag not sponsored. But fantasynamegenerators.com is one of my favorite tools.
I love Fantasy Name Generator. I use it so much. I didn't actually pick my name, I just pulled it up.
Oh. While you are doing that, I'm going to pour myself a quick drink. I'll be right back.
Okay. I wasn't near that area. Also, you know what? I can touch time magics if I want to. You're not the boss of me. I could go with a proper Scottish name. What do you think, Marcos? What happened the last time you used time magics? I blew up the insides of a crocodile because I shoved my hand down its throat and sped its heart up so fast that it exploded and caused the crocodile to explode. That's a thing.
All right, I'm back.
Welcome back.
So, do you have a name yet?
No, we were talking about time magic and how I exploded a crocodile by speeding up its heart so much that its heart exploded.
Dungeon World's a lot of fun. Dungeon World is very much the inspiration for ArcWorld.
And it's super fun, y'all.
I don't have a preference. I haven't come up with, like, I distinctly did not decide to base the cultural stuff on any particular culture. So any name convention that you want to use, you could use. If you wanted to use like a Chinese name, you could use a Chinese name. If you wanted to use a Scottish name, you could use a Scottish name.
I'm looking at British English names right now.
British English is good. Marcos is like, what Scottish name did you see? I saw Marcus.
There's lots of, I mean, I could totes go Scottish. Is that what you want, Marcos? I could go Celtic Scottish. Is it just regular Scottish or regular Scottish? Let's go regular Scottish. Oh, I could name her Paisley.
You could name her Paisley. That's a good name.
I love that name.
Paisley what?
Paisley McPherson. McPherson? No, McKenna.
McPherson?
We're gonna go McKenna.
McKenna? Alright.
Yes.
So you are the last remaining heir to the McKenna family.
Yep. Croc McSplody after that story. Weirdness Paisley pattern.
Okay, with your character's name out of the way, where did I put that page? Okay, your character has a belief A core belief the character holds about the world. This is something that expresses how your character views the world around them. Many, if not all, of your character's actions will probably come back to this belief. It's their mantra when they when they have to make a difficult decision. It's the truth they hold dear to when times get tough. Examples: the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Information should be free. Law and order are necessary to society. The Empire is a poison to the planet. Only by embracing every emotion can we truly be alive. Evil triumphs when good does nothing. Even if this war is inevitable, I can still cure the suffering it causes. It's all or nothing. You're either with me or against me. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there. Which am I going to be?
Ah.
The belief is about who your character chooses to be.
I think I'm gonna go ahead and borrow one of the examples, and
Always a good idea.
Even though this war is inevitable, I can help relieve the suffering.
That's really cool. I was actually kind of a little worried that I had made the Civil War too detached, and that there wouldn't be any impact on the character from the Civil War. So it's really cool to see you taking something about the war.
Yeah, no, she fully is like into. I think that she's kind of supporting the brother that wants to do away with the hierarchy system, and
Okay.
yeah, no, she's picked a side. She's picked a side. It's fine.
Awesome. Okay, the next tag is fulfillment. The character's driving emotional need. This is the emotional experience your character will seek at every opportunity. They need it. They want it. They crave it. They don't have to know that they do, but they do. The character shines brightest when they get it, and is most on point when they are striving to reach for it. When they get it, they're on fire. When they're denied it, they're crushed. Fulfillment is why characters achieve their goals. Examples: recognition, absolution, friendship, challenge, discovery, submission, adrenaline.
Ooh, that's tough.
If you want, you can either pick something from the list, or you can say, why don't we come back to this?
Tell me the list again.
The list is... Not me wandering away from a computer in the middle of a stream. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, never. That's not... that never happens.
The list is recognition, absolution, friendship, challenge, discovery, submission, adrenaline as the examples.
I'm gonna go friendship.
Yeah, I was gonna say friendship, especially with the negative bard score.
Of course. I think absolution would be like if you have a character that feels like super guilty about stuff.
Exactly.
And when they like, she doesn't feel guilty for anything that's happened in her life, like, because she didn't kill her family, and so she's not seeking absolution for the murder of her family. At least not yet. We don't know.
Next is my favorite one.
Ooh.
My favorite tag is the lie.
Oh, I love the lie.
Something the character believes about the world that is wrong and holding them back. This is similar to belief, however, it is patently wrong in the context of their story. This may be a philosophical ideal, or a concrete idea they have about the people, places, or things that surround them. They might even consider their lie to be another belief. Eventually, the character will grow past the lie and discover the truth of things. This is the basis of a really solid character arc, which, as a side note, is why the game is called ArcWorld.
Yep. I'm gonna take a page out of another ArcWorld character that I made. I think you know where I'm going with this.
You have always had a good time with lies.
I am the eternal optimist Disney princess who believes that there is good in the world no matter what. That is yep.
Okay.
There's a specific way that I phrased this. I'm pulling up her sheet. Nope, that's not it. No, actually, no. She honestly believes that. We're gonna go with the right will always win in the end.
All right.
That is the lie.
So by taking that lie, you're telling me as the GM that you want right to lose sometimes.
Yeah.
As a player. Because this is a lie. It's something the character believes, but the character is wrong.
Yep.
And I think that incorporating that the character can be in the wrong into its core concept helps alleviate a lot of the trouble that I ran into when I was doing a lot of role-playing as a kid, where characters could, like, my character could never be wrong. Everything my character does is right.
Marcos asks an interesting question. I'm curious, does the zodiac sign the character's born under have an impact whether they are in alignment or opposition to it?
Not in terms of numbers, but this is a fiction-driven game. Which means that in the story, which zodiac sign were you born under?
I was born under the zodiac sign for deception.
Okay.
But I'm a terrible liar.
in the story, that will impact things. In the mechanics, maybe not. Maybe it depends on the circumstance. When you're rolling dice, there is a chance for you to gain a modifier based on the story, or based on something on your sheet. So it could offer a +1 or a -1 depending on the circumstance.
Okay.
Okay, so then we have objective.
Actually, can I change my lie?
Yes, you can.
Instead of right will always win, I'm like big booties. I trust them. Oh God, guys, no. No, I think my lie. I think she has too much faith in humanity, and
Okay.
she believes that at the end of the day, everybody has good in them.
Oh man, in a world with like demon worshippers
Yes.
and like, yeah.
She is going the Luke Skywalker Darth Vader route where like, no, my dad has good in him. I know. No, your dad's an asshole. He fucking killed everybody.
Yep.
Just because he was right doesn't mean that she's gonna be, okay?
Marcos, I wasn't the one who killed my family, could have been a lie that Dio shows. That would have been allowed. And the character actually believes that. That tells me, as the GM, what kind of a story you want to be telling. That's
Oh
exactly
my
what Tag's supposed to be
God.
about.
Marcos, no! Could you imagine? At the end of the story, I find out the truth is I did kill my family and I'm just wrecked.
Why make that the end of the story? Why not make that the middle of the story?
Why do you do this to me, you guys?
Alright, so then you have objective. This is the character's external goal. This is a tangibly accomplishable thing, but it should be out of reach for now. This is something the character wants to accomplish, and if left to their own devices, it's something they want to work towards on their own time. Objectives help keep a character from falling stagnant and just waiting for something to happen. They keep characters active rather than simply being reactive. When there's nothing else to do, the character's probably going to do something to help them achieve their objective.
I think, so is their objective something that can change?
Yes, as a matter of fact, all of these tags can change or grow into multiple tags.
Okay.
Like your character could eventually have 2 lies.
Okay.
That's part of the narrative system, which is our XP system, which I'll talk about in a little bit.
Okay. So I think initially her objective is going to be to find out who killed her family.
Yeah,
or why
that makes
her
sense.
family was killed.
Mm-hmm. To discover the truth of her family's murder.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Then you have the antagonist. The forces standing between the character and their objective. This tag indicates the opposition you expect your character to face when attempting to chase their fulfillment or their objective. Expect other players to insert whatever you put here into the story in ways that inconvenience your character. Antagonists can be specific characters, external factions, society's rules and laws, or even nature itself. Antagonists are always external to the character, however. When the character is their own antagonist, that's what the flaw tag is for. But we'll talk about flaws in a minute. Examples for antagonists are the jocks at school thwart the character at every turn. Local law enforcement gets in the vigilante's way. There's a defense lawyer that just keeps mucking things up. The Empire is constantly on the hunt for the character. A rival who is always trying to get one up on you. The opposing political faction in the Senate will stop at nothing to win. So there could be like a detective from Beaumont that was hired to look into the death of your family that thinks that you did it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Cool.
let's
NPC.
Let's go there.
I like that idea, even though it was my idea.
I sometimes I need help, and you know me, you know that better than anybody.
All right, this we already have the answer to. But this is your character's role in their universe. This is archetype is the name of the tag. Archetype. This is your character's role in their universe distilled into 1 or 2 words, their cool skill set. This is a description of their role in the story. Other games might call this your class or your unit type. Whenever the character is acting in a capacity that their archetype is meant to be good at, they get a bonus to their dice rolls. Archetypes help communicate how your character is going to achieve their goals despite the opposition.
Don't hide the arsenic in the rice. Damn it.
What?
Silly.
Detective Charles is on the case.
Yes.
This you said you wanted to play a ranger.
Yes.
So that's what the archetype is, ranger. So whenever you do a ranger thing, you're gonna get bonuses to your dice rolls. Examples of archetypes include thief, druid, businessman, hacker, wizard, romantic interest, or cheerleader.
Businessman.
Okay, next is impressions. Role-playing is, in part, about reaching out of our comfort zones and playing something different than ourselves.
Mhm.
Impressions are here to help with that. If you are not a smooth talker, but your character is, then the smooth talker impression helps communicate to your fellow players what kind of character it is you are looking to create. Impressions are the truths about how other characters see your character at first glance. These are the things that immediately impress themselves upon first meeting your character. The impressions tag helps other people roleplay their characters in a way that reinforces your character's concept well. Examples: trustworthy, shifty, personable and outgoing, confident, dangerous, playful, or very serious.
I'm gonna say she's probably very serious. Like, she's probably a little broody.
Okay.
Could you wrangle a dragon with yarn? I mean, I could.
If anybody could wrangle a dragon with yarn, it would be Dyo the Yarn Dragon. Okay, so you want to use Broody as your impression?
Yeah.
And then we get into my other favorite one. The character's flaw. The flaw is the major thing that keeps you from being a perfect person. When your character is their own worst enemy, this is how you and maybe even why that happens. Your character might have many flaws or flaws that run deeply, but this is the primary one, the one that truly defines the texture of their shortcomings. Flaws are when a character is their own opposition instead of society, nature, or another character being the opposition. Examples include impulsiveness, curiosity, lust, greed, gluttony, an addictive personality, or a crucial skill you struggle to perform with.
Oh, it's 100% going to be curiosity.
I love that flaw so much.
Yeah, she's 100% too curious for her own good.
So, a quick note here. We talked about roles. Our roles for this game are mage, thief, fighter, and bard, right?
Yes.
But roles are different for different campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
For a cyberpunk heist game, maybe the roles would have been hacker, driver, fighter, and thief. Or maybe for a Wild West game, gunslinger, horse rider, gambler, and preacher. Okay. Okay, so next what I want you to do is I want you to write down next to all of those things on the side that it'll be easy for you to note. Right?
Mm-hmm.
There's gonna be a 0 next to every single one of those things that we wrote down on the character sheet so far. Your tags and your roles.
0?
A 0. This is something that you haven't had any experience with, but we're going to use this system here. This is the pacing system. I'm going to equate this to Skyrim, because I know a lot of people in the chat have played Skyrim before. In Skyrim, you level up by doing stuff, right? Literally. If you want to be a better sneak, you sneak around. And every time you sneak around, your sneak score goes up. If you want to be a better two-handed weapon fighter, you attack stuff with a two-handed weapon, and that'll raise your two-handed weapon skill. The pacing system works a little bit like that, except for it works that way with your tags and your rolls. Initially, everything on your sheet is locked, and you can't change it by spending experience points, or
Okay.
what we call narrative. All right, so you can't change anything on your sheet without spending narrative. But you're not allowed to spend narrative on something that is locked. To unlock something on your sheet, it has to be relevant to the story somehow.
Okay.
So, for example, your character's objective, right, is to discover the truth of her family's murder.
Right.
Right? You can't change that if it doesn't show up in the story. Each time it shows up in the story, at the end of a session, we're going to put 1 point of pacing on it. And when it reaches 3 points of pacing, you've unlocked that stat.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
This way, this system originates from ArcWorld doesn't have to have a storyteller. It doesn't have to have a game master, a guide. It can be played with just 2 players who are each playing their character, kind of storytelling for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And this system helps make certain that the stuff that you picked on character creation actually gets played.
Okay.
So that you're not like changing it. Now, there is one exception. If we start playing the game and the way the story goes, we realize that we created our character incorrectly. Because that happens.
Right.
When you've created your character incorrectly, you can change the character to suit the character better. That's the one exception. But for the most part, the pacing system helps you keep track of which of these things you've done at the end of a session.
Okay.
Now we're going to get into stats. The word stat comes from editing, like copy editing. It means don't change this. So if you write a book and in that book a character says, "Oh shit," right, and then the editor writes back, "Should we keep the swear word? I don't know if we should keep the swear word in." You can write "stet," and "stet" means nope, we're keeping it. It stays that way. In the game, stets are just like that.
Okay.
Things that we cannot change about the story. Because the rule set here is all about the story. So, for example, let's pretend that you were playing a vampire hunter. You could walk into play with a stet that says, "I will not become a vampire in this story."
Okay.
Because you don't want to play that story.
Right.
You can also use stets if you aren't using other safety tools. You can use stets to establish lines
Okay.
and veils, right? If you are using them that way, I don't know which safety tools you are most familiar with. I am most familiar with the safety tools of the streetlights.
Yeah,
so-
that's similar to what I've been playing with over on Disconcordia with the cards.
Yeah, so a red light. If you say red light, that means stop.
Right.
If you say yellow light, that means keep going, but be careful. And if you say green light, that means green. And if I just say, "Hey, street lights," that means I'm asking for you to give me feedback,
Yep.
so I know what I'm doing, right?
Yep.
That's my personal set of safety tools. But you can use stets to establish boundaries. If you use stets to establish boundaries, they are always free, and you never have to justify them.
Okay.
So, for example, if you had lost a family member to cancer,
Mm-hmm.
just as a hypothetical,
Right.
and you wanted to roleplay, but you didn't want to play a story about losing a family member to a sickness,
Mhm.
right? You could make that a stet. I will not lose family members to, or people will not lose family members to sickness. And you don't have to explain why. That's a stet. You don't have to relive the trauma of losing your family just so that we understand why.
Yep.
And under those rules, because normally stets will take XP to change, or
Mhm.
to add, or to remove, boundary stets are free all the time. You can change them whenever you want.
Okay. Because sometimes that changes.
Because sometimes that changes. And sometimes you didn't think of things ahead of time.
Yep.
Sometimes you need to red light or yellow light in the middle of a session.
Yep.
So stets, you don't have to have stets. You might not have any stets. For example, you might decide a stet that says, "I did not kill my family." But if you want to leave that on the table, obviously you wouldn't take that stet.
Yeah, I think for now I'm gonna leave that on the table, because who the hell knows? Maybe I did.
There is one other use that stets have, and this is where we're going to talk about the magic system. Because stets cost XP to change, you can use them for parts of the character sheet that aren't standard to ArcWorld. So this is where we're going to start talking about the magic system. Okay? I am going to give you 10 dots. Okay?
Okay.
You are going to spend those 10 dots on Changeling the Dreaming Arts. That's what I'm going to use for our magic system.
Oh, yes.
You're familiar with it? You
Yes.
understand how it works? We're not going to worry about having to use realms.
I love you so much right now.
I knew you would like that. So you get to pick which abilities you have. That way you don't have to worry about making up magic on the fly, right? And you can even unleash them if you want.
Are you asking about the arts or the realms, Tice? Because I'll be happy to blab about both. So I can use 10 dots to pick the arts. So
in Changeling the Dreaming,
yeah.
their magic system is arts and realms. Think of an art as a verb, right? So you might have an art that sets things on fire, right? And then the other half of that is what is it that you are setting on fire? What we're going to do is we're going to assume that the character has access to all the realms at all times, so that if you have an art that sets things on fire, you can just set things on fire.
Yes.
It's arts are like spells. I am wholesale lifting this magic system from the changeling system because it is a system I know that Dio is really familiar with.
And it's a system that I adore. It is like my favorite system.
I'm giving you 10 dots to start with. Okay? And that will all be a stat. These are the spells that I know.
Okay.
That way, we know how you can pick up more spells if the story goes in such a way that you study more magic. And so on.
Okay.
You don't have to pick those right now, but if you do want to, you can.
I'm gonna wait, because I have some ideas.
Okay.
I definitely think I want to take a little bit of legerdemain, because legerdemain is amazing, and I'm learning more about it as I get more into changeling.
Mm-hmm.
But I also, I don't want to lean too heavy right off the bat into one particular art. Because 10 dots sounds like a lot, but when it's 5 dots to master an art... Yeah, and I don't think she's mastered any of it yet.
Tice is asking if there is a list. There is a Changeling the Dreaming wiki that has a list of all the arts on it.
Yes.
I can link it in chat here.
Yes, please.
Here you go. I thought about for a little while using the D&D magic system or porting over the mage system, but I ultimately decided that you would have more fun with Changeling because you like Changeling.
I like them both. I will also say some of the things that are listed here are not... Some of these are not listed in the 20th anniversary edition, and there is at least one missing from here that's in the 20th anniversary edition player's guide called Tailcraft. Oh no, Tailcraft is there. Okay, they added it.
I'm not going to limit you to a specific source. If it's a Changeling art, you can use it.
Yay.
Probably not naming.
Oh no, I have no desire to get into naming. I have learned enough about naming to know that I don't want to fuck with that.
Yep.
Yeah, so it looks like Marcos, I haven't actually opened the links to them to see what's there. Because I know with 20th anniversary edition, some of the arts that were like in the older versions or other versions work differently. I don't remember, I think Dreamcraft is a Neuromancy now. And I think Dreamcraft is part of a Neuromancy now.
And to clarify, I am more interested in the flavor of the art than I am the rules of the art. So like if you have an art like Legerdemain, it's like I wouldn't worry about the technicalities of the old system.
Yeah.
Just running with the flavor of that magic in the new system. Okay, so that's stats. So let's talk a little bit more about mechanics and how you're going to use all this stuff. Okay? So, in ArcWorld, we have beats.
Actually, before we get into that, can I take just like a 10-minute break?
Yes, a 10-minute break sounds good so I can make some iced tea.
Yes. So, I'm going to put my BRB screen up, guys, and I will be back in just like 5-10 minutes.
Okay, I will be in chat for more Q&A.
Okay. Do you want me to leave voice up or?
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna step AFK really quickly to get a drink.
Okay.
Okay, and then I'll be right back. Hello, I am back from AFK. Let's see what's going on in chat. If this is super successful, do you have any ideas of the future? Will there be a time when you see you on your own channel again? Not trying to sound pushy or anything, just support either way. Being already here for a long time. Yes! Hello, Coran, what's going on? You're amazing, and I wish you a good day. So, as far as streaming on my own channel goes, I would like to have a game on my channel again. I do not have the opportunity to do that right now, because of real life. But it is like picking up streaming again as a casual experience is something I would like to do in the future. Yes. Whether or not this is successful, because I like playing with an audience. I like playing as a show. I just can't do it right now. That's what this is. This right here was something that Dyo and I cooked up to do together. And I decided that I would like to get my toes wet again, so to speak. I only ever come up with annoying really niche lore questions that are never going to be relevant. Weirdness, I understand what you mean, and I welcome those questions because I like world building. And if you ask me a question, chances are I don't know the answer, but I'm going to answer it anyways, and then I've just world built. And there might be some questions that I don't know the answer to that I don't want to know the answer to, because this is a powered by the apocalypse system, and one of the things that powered by the apocalypse systems have are tenets. Like the tenets help define what it is that you're going to do and why it is that you're going to do it. And one of the tenets of a powered by the apocalypse system that I am adopting for this game is play to find out, which means that there are things that I do not know the answer to. Many things that I do not know the answer to that I am leaving unprepared. For example, I don't know what the campaign's core story is going to be just yet. I have set up a whole bunch of quest hooks at the start of the campaign, and the adventures that Dyo goes on and the adventures that Dyo doesn't go on will both influence what the campaign winds up being about. So I welcome your niche questions. You can't scare me. Marco says, you mean like the river that flows from another dimension? What happens if someone tries to swim up it? Well, typically swimming up a waterfall is physically impossible. I suppose some magic would be necessary. Anybody who has ever crossed into the dimension that the river flows from has never come back. Has either side won a decisive battle? I assume, Tice, you're talking about the Civil War? Maybe change a part of the world from bodies to maybe change a part of the world from bodies of one side falling. I don't know what that last sentence means. Oh, the angels and demons. During the Golden Age, battles between angels and demons were very common. They were frequent physical warfare that was fought mostly on the mortal plane, because the angels are defending heaven, so the demons can't really reach heaven, and the demons are defending hell, so the angels can't really reach hell, so they do most of their fighting on the mortal plane. Those battles have not happened for centuries. When the elves vanished, so did the battles between heaven and hell. Heaven and hell are still at war, but they haven't interfered with the mortal plane for a couple of centuries at this point. I thought for a second you were talking about the Civil War, which hasn't had any real battles yet. Did the elves live alongside humans before they disappeared, or did they have their own country? Do humans think those places are cursed now? Did the elves believe in the same gods? Down the list, did the humans and elves live alongside? Yes, they did. They lived together. They lived in clusters together. So like there were elven cities and human cities, and elven kingdoms and human kingdoms. Did they have their own country? Do humans think those places are cursed now? No, humans do not think those places are cursed now. As a matter of fact, the study of ancient elven technology is something that a character might specialize in. And I use the elven technology stuff to bring in a lot of cool steampunk and like gnomish invention flavor into the setting. There are NPCs that have like prosthetic elven tech arms and stuff. do the elves believe in the same gods? Yes, the elves believed in the same gods. The same goddesses were the three have always been worshipped by the mortal plane, and heaven and hell, as a matter of fact.
Hello.
Hello, welcome back.
Thank you.
It was one goddess that created the angels demons, right? If so, did they intend for them to fight? Probably. I would imagine that Aktash created the angels and demons as manifestations. Think of angels and demons as elementals for good and evil.
Aktasha is the dungeon that you fight when you're level 15. Wait, what?
So the elves may have done something to stop the two from entering. It's possible. Nobody knows what happened to the elves, and nobody knows why the angels and demons have stopped fighting and why those two things happened at the same time. That is one of the great mysteries of the setting. But that is very possible. Gnomish check. Excellent. There is, as a matter of fact, talking about like humans not thinking elven ruins are haunted. There are elven ruins scattered about the place, but one of the duchies, Elvenwood specifically, is called Elvenwood because it is rife with a lot of elven ruins. And the capital of Elvenwood, Angelview, is actually built on the ruins of an elven city.
I want to go to Elvenwood. Right, Marcos? Isn't it amazing?
I think it's really cool. I've been so excited for today's stream because I cannot wait to talk about this world. And it's funny because I built this world trying to be as generic as possible, like trying to be as simple as possible, but the more stuff I borrowed from various different settings and kind of like co-opted into my own game world, the more it came together into this really cool fantasy setting. Afternoon, Dyo and Luca in chat and Discord images to make it look like Luca is side-eyeing Dyo.
I mean, that is... yeah, that's accurate.
Have any records of events that led up to disappearances been found? Yes, but I don't know what those are yet, because that would be something that came up in a conversation with an elven expert, or with an expert on the elves. Exactly, Weirdness. I'm not even going to pretend that the whole elven disappearance thing didn't come straight from the Elder Scrolls. That's exactly where I got the idea.
Like, so here's the deal. I want to play through this, like our one-on-one, right?
Yep.
And then I want to take this over to your channel and add like a couple players.
And have another campaign in the same world.
Yes.
It's doable. I've done that kind of thing before.
I'm so excited about this world and this setting and everything that I want to play through it once just so I can be like, how would you see your character die? Oh. I imagine she would die either learning the truth about her family and avenging them, or maybe die in the Civil War.
Ooh. So, let's talk about that character death, because this is something that I feel is very unique about my system. I don't have hit points. I don't have damage dice.
No.
Combat is we will talk a little bit about the combat system. The quote unquote combat system. It's a confrontation system. It's a conflict system. That can be used for social conflict or physical conflict or even like intellectual conflict. But the point that I was getting at is that character death happens as a part of the story. A character's death is the end of their story. When you kill off a character, you are chopping that thread of the story out. That's a big deal, and my system treats that as a big deal by not having any mechanics to kill characters with.
Mm-hmm.
Character death is part of the fiction. Character death is not part of the system.
Damn dice. What about miss points?
No hit points. What about miss points?
Doesn't it sound super fun, Lizard Queen? Like, I'm so excited. I also have an excuse to use my fancy dice.
So the idea is when you get into a fight, because fighting will happen. This action is one of our core campaign themes for this campaign.
Yes.
You can get injuries, your stuff can break, all kinds of stuff can go wrong. And part of what happens when you get into a fight using ArcWorld is that both teams on the fight declare what their goal is. Because usually, almost all the time, fighting is not the point. Killing is not the point. Instead, killing is a means to an end. You're fighting these bandits because you want to get away with all of your stuff. These bandits are fighting you because they want to take your stuff. They're not just fighting because they want to kill you. Killing you isn't the point. Killing you is how they're going to take your stuff.
Right.
And that's the level at which ArcWorld handles the conflict, is that which team gets what they want. Which means that they can get what they want without killing you somehow. Then that's probably how that'll happen, because that's how the story can keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Even throws the shoe on the ground. Emotional damage! And so, like, when there are no hit points, and there's no, like, generic injury system, the injuries that your character sustains matter to the story. Your character broke an arm. That's a big deal. Your character sprained an ankle? Good luck walking. Yep. Right? That makes things like healing potions really cool all of a sudden. Because healing potions normally just restore some hit points. They just do part of the system math, and that's that. Yep. A healing potion here could cure that sprained ankle you have and let you walk again.
Yep.
Or a healing spell could do that. Right? I'm super excited about combat in ArcWorld. I'm super excited about it. But it's not a game focused with the challenge of combat so much as it is the creativity and the story of the combat.
Is there a limitation on how often you can use magic?
So I'm going to borrow from Dungeon World here. When you roll, do the mage thing to activate a spell, right? One of the downsides you can choose is to have a negative impact on your resources. This means that you only spend mana on a spell if you roll poorly but still want the spell to go off.
Okay.
So magic is limited, yes, but it's not going to be like I have to spend a point of mana to cast a spell. Instead, sometimes the dice will take a point of mana from you, and when you have no mana, you can't cast a spell.
Okay. But it's not going to be like in our play-by-post where you could use other means to cast.
Right.
Okay.
It's going to be a binary thing. If you have mana, you can cast a spell. If you have no mana, you can't cast a spell.
Cool.
Sometimes mana will go down. And then you'll regenerate your mana when you rest.
Nice. Nice.
Not a Thema system? Mana? I know, right? Magic is so gendered now. Oh my god. Okay. So let's talk about how you're going to use these things.
Okay.
We've got all of your tags settled up. You got your roles settled up. So the way that the system works is that whenever you roll dice, you are then presented... actually, before we get to that point, there are 4 modifiers that can happen on any dice roll.
Okay.
This is important. We haven't used this part of the system in the play-by-post.
Okay.
There is a sheet bonus or a sheet penalty, right?
Okay.
And a story bonus and a story penalty. The story bonus, let's say your character previously in the story alluded to Sting, the sword that kills orcs. Right?
Right.
When you are fighting an orc, you would get bonuses from the story of your character having Sting.
Okay.
If you were a ice-aligned mage, and you were trying to, like, struggle through the flames of a burning house, that might give you a story penalty to the dice roll to struggle through the house.
Okay.
Whenever the story indicates that something should be turning more for you or against you, you get story bonuses. When we start off play, I will be pointing out when you should have these bonuses and penalties because you're new to the system. But
Okay.
as we start to get the hang of that, you'll be able to ask me, should I have a story bonus or whatever,
Okay.
because you'll get used to it. Sheet penalty and sheet bonus work the same way, except for they come from your character's sheet. For example, curiosity as a flaw might actually help you if you are gathering rumors at the tavern.
Right.
However,
because I'm insanely curious.
because you're insanely curious, right? So you'll learn more, so the story will turn in your favor. However, if you are if your belief is that there is good in all people and you're dealing with a demon cultist that there is no good left in because he sold his soul, you might suffer a sheet penalty because of that.
Right.
The most common sheet bonus ever is going to be your archetype. Whenever you do something that is ranger flavored, you get a bonus from it because your sheet says you're a ranger. It's
Okay.
important to note that you can have all 4 of these on the same roll. You can have a story bonus and a story penalty, and a sheet bonus and a sheet penalty. You can have up to all 4 of them on a roll, but you can only get each one once. They don't stack. So if you're doing a ranger thing, and that ranger thing involves a magic bow that you got, you still only take the +1 for sheet bonus. You might be able to say that the bow is a story penalty, a story bonus, and the ranger archetype is a sheet bonus and get +2.
Mm-hmm.
But you can only have 1 sheet bonus at a time, and you can only have 1 story bonus at a time.
Okay.
Okay, that's all important. Whenever you roll your dice, they're gonna be bad, hot seat, or good. If you've played Dungeon World before, you're familiar with this part of the system. A good outcome means the story swings in your favor. That doesn't mean you succeed, it means the story swings in your favor.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if your character is chasing down a bad guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
The bad guy might get away, but you'll find out that that was good. Because if you had caught him, he would have killed you.
Right.
Or, on a bad outcome, the story swings against your character. This is when you catch the bad guy, and he tries to kill you. Hot seat is a mixed bag. Sometimes hot seat will mean you succeed, but it's not quite what you envisioned. Sometimes hot seat will say you succeed, but a new problem comes up. Basically, you can envision the hot seat outcome as this isn't over yet.
Right.
Now.
And it wasn't till just now that I made that connection to Dungeon World.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You've been play by posting this system for months.
I know, and it didn't occur to me that yeah.
Okay. Now,
Funny.
you're never just gonna throw dice.
No.
You're never just gonna pick up dice and roll them. Instead, you will always roll dice as part of a beat. In fiction, a beat is a moment in a story. If the story is a song, a beat is when the drum goes doosh, right? And the song is kind of connected by its beat. Boom, 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 boom. Might be a beat, right?
Right.
Each one of those sounds is a beat, and beats connect to form stories. In ArcWorld, a beat is, if you've played Dungeon World, in Dungeon World they call them moves. This is when the rules happen. Now, in ArcWorld, you don't choose to use a rule. The rules happen, period. Right? Because the rules are triggered by the fiction. If you rush a dude with a sword, that sounds like doing the fighter thing to me. Right? That beat will trigger when you rush the dude with a sword. Instead of you want to do the fighter thing by rushing him with the sword. Does that make sense? So you'll always lead with the fiction of what's going on, instead of invoking the rules.
Right.
This makes this super easy for you, who's not super familiar with the system yet,
Mm-hmm.
because I, as the GM, need to determine when the rules are triggered.
Okay.
Aislinn350 says, hey, Hubs decided today was shovel and hide upstairs for a bit, going back and forth and lurking a lot. Spawn probably isn't going to let me listen and watch without her being able to. Hi, Aislinn!
I'm sorry, Ashlyn. But the VOD's going to be up, and I will also be linking, this is going to go up on EvilSqueegee's YouTube also. And so once that goes live, I'll also be linking, I'll probably put a channel in the Discord for people who aren't able to make the Friday shows if they want to keep up. Because, yeah, this is going to be like a thing, and it's going to be kick-ass, so you don't want to miss it!
So the first beat that we're going to talk about, right,
Okay.
is going to be do the thing. A beat has the trigger, which is when this happens, this beat goes off. This beat just happens, right?
Right.
Then the beat will ask you to roll dice, and you'll roll some dice. You'll get a good, hot seat, or bad outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And then based on what happens in the beat will then tell you what to do with your good, hot seat, or bad outcome. Most of the time, this will involve a choice. Right?
Right.
So, for example, in do the roll thing, in do the fighter thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could choose between experiencing a status change, experiencing a resource change, creating some tangential circumstance that you weren't planning on, creating an opportunity to chase your fulfillment or be harmed by your flaw, etc., etc. This is what I mean when I say that this is a choice-rich system, because beats will very frequently ask you or me to make a choice about what happens next.
Okay.
And then what we choose determines what happens in the fiction as a result of the beat, and then we keep playing with the fiction back and forth in the conversation until another beat triggers. And that's the game loop.
Okay.
So the first thing that happens, the first beat and the most common beat is going to be do the roll thing. This could be do the fighter thing, do the bard thing, do the mage thing, or do the thief thing, because those are our 4 roles for this campaign.
Mm-hmm.
This is whenever you do something, the outcome of which is important, or whenever you engage in an activity, the consequences of which could be interesting. This beat triggers. We don't have to go over the very specific lists of choices.
I feel like those will also maybe vary a little bit with the situation, yeah?
Yes, very much. For example, when you, let's say the situation is you are navigating a building, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that building is the bar, that's not getting from one end of the bar to the next side of the bar isn't a big deal.
Right.
But if it's a war-torn battle and people are beating the shit out of each other and a huge bar brawl has broken out, getting to the other side of the bar is suddenly way more complicated.
Right.
And there could be any number of things that could happen on your way across, and that's when the beat would trigger. That's the most common beat you're going to roll, and you're going to roll it a lot.
Yeah.
Then there's gain the resource. Resources in ArcWorld are simply points. If you are traveling across a desert, maybe we'll track how much water you have left. Right? If you are crawling through a dungeon, maybe we'll track how exhausted you're getting. If you are if you are earning political favor over the course of like a day trying to hype up people to help with a political cause, maybe progress on your political task would be a resource.
Mm-hmm.
Resources are always tracked from 0 to 3.
Okay.
They will change based on dice rolls and beats. Do the roll thing has a lot of mechanics in it that let you tinker with resources. Sometimes I will just tell you gain a point of exhaustion or lose a point of water.
Okay.
They can change just because of the fiction, or they can change because of another beat. Sometimes beats will chain react like that.
Makes sense.
So there's a beat that happens when a resource goes off, when a resource changes, and when a resource changes, there's got to be some sort of narrative reason for it, but also a narrative consequence, right? Like, you suddenly realize that as you're wandering through the desert and you've had to drink so much water because you've been so thirsty, you realize that one of your canteens is empty. And there's that pressure that's building, right?
Yeah.
Then we have Dynamite and Happy Ending. These are two separate beats.
Okay.
Because resources come in positive and negative forms. A negative resource might be rage and frustration, right? Where your character starts to get really frustrated, and that starts to interfere with them doing stuff because they're frustrated and they're making mistakes, and that builds to more frustration. And then finally they just fucking explode, right?
Right.
Dynamite is when you fucking explode and something happens, and the resource, having been built up for so long, just boom, creates a situation in the story.
Okay.
The same thing with Happy Ending, except for Happy Ending is when the resource is good. When you have too much water. Well, I can't hold all this water. What do I do? Then there's... Now we're going to talk about Clash and Contend. I've talked a little bit about the combat system so far. This is actually how the combat system works. Okay? Whenever there's two teams that are about to get into a fight, whether that fight is combat, a courtroom drama, or a game of chess, you have two teams, right? Those teams want something. We established that we talked earlier about the teams wanting things and the teams having goals, and that being where things are important. So the first thing we do is we establish the team's goals, and the rule is kill the other guy is not allowed to be your goal.
Okay.
You're allowed to kill the other guy, but it's got to be means to an end, and we're trying to figure out what the end is, right? So
Right.
once we figure that out, each team has a certain number of victory points that they want to earn. There's a resource. This is a special resource in that it's not rated from 0 to 3. Instead, the number of victory points you need to earn might be different from each other. For example, you're the main character of the story.
Right.
Fighting mooks, odds are those mooks are not going to win, so they have to earn more victory points than you do. And the combat becomes a race to the most victory points. How do you earn victory points? Well, that's where the beat Contend comes into play. The beat Clash triggers when the teams go up and we determine all the stuff and how many victory points you need. Okay, that's Clash. So Contend attaches itself to other beats. So basically, once the fight is started, we go back to playing normally. You tell me what your character is doing. I tell you how the world is reacting, right?
Okay.
And at some point, you're going to do something, especially in the middle of a fight. You're going to do something that requires a do the thing check, right?
Right.
You're going to rush a dude with your sword, or you're going to try and escape. If you roll well on that action, you get victory points. If you roll badly on that action, the bad guys get victory points.
Marco's end goal, dance on person's grave. Well, looks like I need to kill him. Yeah, I like that, Marco's.
The first team to get all their victory points gets their objective, and nobody can truly get their objective until they have all their victory points. So that means if your objective is to get away from the bandits, and the bandits' objective is to take all your stuff, one roll isn't going to stop you from isn't going to solve the thing. You're going to have to try and get away several times. You're going to have to do several things.
Okay.
Right. And there is an optional rule where you round up the entire thing in one dice roll. One do the thing check. So if what we're doing is we are playing through a political story and a bar brawl breaks out. Well, that's time for a do the thing check. That might even be time for a clash. But if we don't care about the details of the fight, we can just make it a do the thing check for the whole fight.
Okay.
So, as appropriate to the narrative, that's an option.
Technically, they don't need to be dead for that. I mean, Yeah. Yeah.
So do you remember earlier when we were talking about pacing?
Yes.
Well, pacing is all about how you're allowed to spend your narrative. At the end of the session, you're going to get narrative for having done stuff that was in the themes of the campaign.
Mhm.
You're going to get narrative for having hit your tags in your role-playing, right? In a multi-person campaign, you would earn narrative for hitting somebody else's tags with your role-playing. So if Marcos was playing with us, right? And Marcos is playing a character and your character has the curiosity flaw, if Marcos does something that makes your character's curiosity flaw go off, Marcos gets experience for that.
Okay.
There's a story I like to tell about this. I was playing Aubrey, who is somebody that you might meet in this campaign, depending on how the story goes.
Yay!
And Aubrey is a big, gentle giant with a very violent streak. He gets very violent whenever bad guys are around. He's a paladin. He's a vengeance paladin.
Tice, Aubrey the Paladin, yes!
And I used to roleplay Aubrey in an online chat room, and I spent all of my time trying to communicate why Aubrey was doing the things he was doing. I was trying to show everybody Aubrey-ness and what Aubrey-ness was all about. And then one day, another player rolls up and plays their character looking way up at Aubrey, because Aubrey is massive, right? And going, oh my god, he's a golden retriever in a people body.
He is!
And suddenly I felt like somebody else got my character. They understood who my character was. And from that moment forward, my fiction started to flow from my character instead of being about my character. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I didn't have to worry about people understanding who Aubrey was anymore because I had gotten that itch scratch. Somebody got him. And I could settle in and play the character the way the character was meant to be played.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the narrative system is supposed to work. It's supposed to encourage people to bounce off of each other's character sheets. Now, we don't have multiple players at this table, so you're going to bounce off your own sheet.
Alright.
So you're going to get experience for playing out your character's flaws and playing out your character's objectives and so on and so forth.
Cool. You guys might even get to hear bad voice acting.
Wraps it up, basically.
Yeah.
That's everything for Session 0.
I'm excited. Are you guys excited? I'm excited. I'm hella excited.
Oh, I think my headset is dead because I see you talking,
Oh,
but
no.
I don't hear you. Hold on.
Hi, hella excited. I'm Tice. Hi, Tice. Tice, it is so good to see you. I have missed you. I'll always be in chat giving weird comments at awkward moments. I expect nothing less weirdness. I am very, very excited about this. I hope that you guys are excited, and I hope you guys will come back. We will have session 1 on March 11th, which is not next Friday, but 2 weeks from today. Because a week from today, I will be in California at Stitches West. If you are in the Sacramento area and you do the yarn thing, come out. We would love to see you. I will be at the Cerulean Orchid booth with Cerulean Orchid and Totally Rad Jess of Totally Rad Yarn. I'm pulling up the Stitches information right now. Stitches West. It is in Sacramento, California at Safe Credit Union Convention Center. I think it's I'm gonna say safe because that's how it's spelled, but I think it's like, I think it stands for something. SAFE, all caps. Anyways, I'm super excited about all the things that are coming up. Hi, Rays.
Hello. Okay, so this is a session 0, right?
Yes.
I have babbled at you about the system and babbled at you about the world, and we've created your character.
Yes.
Right? Did you have any questions?
I don't have any questions right now. I
Okay.
tend to be a question asker as they come up.
Mhm.
Because I tend to learn as I do, rather than learn as I have rules. Like I kind of sort of am familiar enough with the system that I kind of like, just from our play by post. I know it's different, but it's
Yep.
similar enough that I'm comfortable enough to just jump in.
Yep.
I think it's going to be super fun. I'm very excited about the world. I'm excited about the lore, and I can't wait to learn more about this world that you're creating. I can't wait to play the session, and I can't wait for the prospect of getting more people involved later down the road. Like, that's how excited I am. Like, I'm excited to play through a story and then be like, all right, now who can we get to play with us?
Right. Okay, now I also want to point out, during a session 0, I would normally encourage players to come up with lines and veils.
Yes.
You and I, however, have played together for a very long time.
Yes.
I already know the lines and veils that you would come up with.
Yes.
And there's no reason to go over them again.
Yeah. And honestly, for a Twitch game, my only lines and veils are, and lines are anything that violates Twitch terms of service. I don't personally have a ton of veils when it comes to roleplay. We're obviously not going to, like, if there's sex and romance in this game, we're all grown-ups here. So there's going to be sex and romance in the games. Sex will fade to black always.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I mean, first of all, that's against Twitch terms of service, but even if it wasn't, because it's a public game,
Yeah, absolutely.
all of that.
I'm very familiar with streaming games.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, to show myself out, you can find a lot of the games that I have run in the past on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/EvilSqueegee.
Yes. Can I do the sex with the demons? I mean, you know what, Tice? Sure. Also, we do not have unnatural dice here because it's just me.
Yes. Unnatural. I was gonna ask. Unnatural dice. No unnatural dice. That answers that question.
Yeah.
If you're not familiar, unnatural dice is when I run big games on my channel. I let people to thank people for their support, for their donations and their subs and their bits. We let people inflict crits and botches and stuff on players, and basically all of your crits and all of your botches and stuff go into the player's hat, and whenever they roll dice, they pull from the hat.
Yeah. I was gonna say, if we were playing this on Luca's channel and we had more than one player, I just think unnatural dice with one player is, for me, it takes the fun out of it.
Yep.
Cause I know, like, I think I had so many unnatural dice lined up before Dungeon World ended that, yeah. Marco's chat, let's make characters to hunt Dyo for killing her. I mean, you guys are welcome to post. I will make a channel today. Well, I'll make a channel this weekend for this game, and as the game goes on, if you guys want to drop stuff into that channel, I can't tell you that Luca's going to take these suggestions, but they are certainly welcome to.
Crowdsourcing your character's suffering to your channel is exactly the nature of Twitch.
Dan, hi Dan, how are you? I'm good. We were just wrapping up session 0 of our new ArcWorld game that we're going to be playing every Friday starting on the 11th. So 2 weeks from today will be session 1, will be the first story, the first part of our adventure. You would post characters if you could make one. Tice, do it.
Well, all of the character creation rules you need to know were live explained on the channel.
Who knows? Maybe one of the characters you create will become an NPC. I can't tell you yes or no. I'm just saying, like, it could happen.
It's possible.
It could be a thing. Also, if you do join the Discord, we are primarily a fiber Discord. There's not a whole lot else going on there, and we're pretty quiet, so you're welcome to come hang out with us.
If you are looking for a Discord that is primarily tabletop role-playing, I have one.
You do.
Where is my general chat? Create invite. Copy link.
My ideas become an NPC? You went over to the Squeegee channel and subscribed again. Yay! Thank you, Ties.
Oh, thank you.
Could this be the lead up that turns into the Evil Squeegee comeback?
That was a question Tyson asked earlier, and my answer was that I am looking forward to streaming on my channel again. I just can't do it right now.
Yeah.
But this could absolutely become a thing. This is the first ArcWorld playtest, and the more I playtest it, the more iterations of the system I develop. And iterations of the system need to be playtested, so there's a good chance that I would wind up playtesting ArcWorld on my own channel as well.
I would be down to help with that too, because the more I'm getting into roleplay, the more I'm like enjoying it. I've been watching a lot of Critical Role, and I don't like when I say that, I'm not like, oh, it's encouraging me to like really get into it with the acting stuff. It's helping me understand stuff.
Yep.
And it's helping me like think outside the box of how I could use spells to do stuff. It's kind of like how I used Changeling the streaming, and like that I use that as to kind of educate myself on the system and learn how to think outside the box to use things other than the obvious, oh, use this ability to change my hair color or whatever.
Yep.
You're okay. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna shout out my Twitter.
Yeah,
if you're into tabletop role playing stuff and you want more updates on ArcWorld, or you want to be able to talk to me about ArcWorld, I am active on Twitter. At EvilSqueegee. I check my Twitter every day. And I would be more than happy to babble endlessly about NPCs, the game world, all kinds of stuff.
Can confirm, if you like reading RPG babble on Twitter, theirs is a good Twitter follow. There's a lot there. And a lot of it's really good. So go, do the thing.
And that wraps up everything I had to say.
Yeah. I think that's actually probably where we're going to call stream here today. Dan says you're okay-ish, dealing with life shit, but yeah. I'm glad you're doing somewhat better. I know that life sucks, and God, do I know life sucks. Tice, get out of here. I love you. I would definitely like calling you my friend too, Tice. You are amazing, and I adore you. No, weirdness. I 100% get it. I'm kind of in the same boat. There are a few Discords that I'm in because they're my friends' Discords, and I like to betray. I window you. Aw, thanks, Tice. But I think this is where I'm going to call stream for today. Luca, thank you so much for coming and doing this with me. I'm super excited. I can't wait for the trip to be over so I can come back and get started. We can get started on this game.
I'm excited for that as well.
I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. So yeah, this is where we're going to call it for today. I will be back. No, I won't be back for a week. I will be out for a week, you guys. I am traveling to Stitches. I will be back on Tuesday. What day is that? I will be back on Tuesday the 8th. I fly home on Monday the 7th. But if you're going to be in Sacramento next weekend, and you do the yarn thing, come out to the Stitches West. We're at the Safe Credit Union Convention Center. I will be at the Cerulean Orchid booth all weekend. Come hang out, you know. So, but until then, I will see you guys in a week. Have a great time while I'm gone. Be safe. Take care of you. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.